The banners for version Luna 3 have finally been revealed and feature BENNETT, one of the very best characters in the game. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 stars, the 4 stars, and the weapon banner to help you decide if these are worth wishing on for you. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. The version Luna 2 banners featuring Arlecchino and Zhongli are finally here. If you're planning on spending on these or any future banners, let me recommend Loot Bar. I have been personally using Loot Bar for over a year. They are safe, using currency exchange to get you discounts on the crystals you were going to buy anyway. They have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews, and by clicking my link, you can save over 25% on all of your purchases. It's very easy to use. Just click the pack you want, enter your in-game UID and region, and your top-up is delivered in minutes. Right now with the Black Friday event, you can get double points on your first purchase, saving you money the next time you buy. In addition, you get a random chance at one of 3 coupons, 10%, 5%, or 3%, or you might get lucky and win all 3. New users get a 10% off coupon, and returning users get a 5% and 3% for clicking my link. Also, if you plan on buying currency for Milliastra Wonderland or other games like Zenless Zone Zero or Honkai Star Rail, you can also purchase that through Loot Bar. It's partnerships like these that allow me to continue bringing the content that I do, as well as supporting my family. So thanks to Loot Bar for sponsoring the video. Starting off with the 5 stars. I've made quite a bit of content on Durin. My TLDR opinion is if you if you main a number of these characters, Durin is probably worth getting for you. Maybe not for just one, because you might already have a good team for them, but if you own multiple, it will probably be useful for you. Not for sure, check with our Discord, but probably be useful. Discord's in the description, by the way. There's also a code in the description. You can also subscribe, code in the pinned comment as well, if you haven't redeemed it for Primogems. But yeah, if you own and main multiple of these characters, I thought about putting Mualani up here, but I think Pyro Traveler kind of just gets the job done well enough. Rather go for Mualani vertical investment, especially now with Mona. So that's one. If you play and main multiple of these characters, Durin might be worth getting for you. If freeing up Moeka off of one of these teams that she's currently doing sub DPS or support for, if you free up Moeka for one of these characters, that is extremely worth it. And if you don't have Moeka, that makes it extremely worth it. If you want to play DPS Durin, that makes it worth it. If you want to play Varka, I don't know if it's worth it. We don't know what Varka's kit does. It seems plausible that he will be best in slot for Varka. It's also somewhat plausible that Venti is best in slot for Varka. Kind of a bit confusing. Makes me unsure. Also, if you play DPS, yoimiya, you could put them up here as well. Just to be clear, I don't think everyone who mains one of these characters should just get Durin, because there's other things you need to consider. What other teams are you wanting? Are you wanting Columbina? There's apparently a new Geo DPS coming out in the same patch as Columbina. Maybe you want them. There's a lot of things. How many pulls do you have? There's a lot of things to consider. So if you're not sure about your specific situation, join the Discord and ask the help channel. But that is my general recommendation if you should pull Durin. He feels very strong. He feels very good. He's sort of a jack of all trades, master of a couple. He's not a crazy power ceiling character, right? He's not lifting the lid on the power of the game, but he is raising the ceiling for a number of characters. And the fact that he competes with Moeka on a number of teams makes him very valuable. Again, freeing up Moeka to be a DPS and doing just as well or better than her is very valuable, okay? Something I realized that is super weird is these are Hexarai characters, but there's no Hexarai 4 stars on the banner. I guess it's because they're giving away the free Hexarai Selector, which is Fischl, Sucrose, and Razor. Let me know if you want a guide on which to pick. I saw some other people made a guide. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Like if you want to get Razor, play DPS Razor, then get Razor. You know, if you don't have Sucrose, make sure you get a Sucrose. If you have a copy of Sucrose already, you don't really need a Sucrose. You only need her if you don't have one, right? She needs cons. And then Fischl really wants her cons. So I would say, you know, get if you don't have, default, get if you want. Right? So always get Sucrose if you don't have her. Always get Razor if you want to play Razor, and then the default choice is Fischl. I think that's just correct. You don't need a guide. For Venti, should you get Venti? No. It's possible that he'll be, again, best in slot support for Varka, but without knowing anything for Varka, it's very difficult. He gives a 50% bonus to damage 50% damage increase, not just damage bonus, but damage increase to characters who swirl within his circle. And that's very good. It's good enough to be similar to Farzan C6 for Wanderer, but mostly he's just the DPS himself. He's a better DPS by quite a good margin than Wanderer. He's pretty fun to play. He's pretty satisfying. He's not like crazy strong. He's sort of like an upper mid-tier DPS now, but he does feel very good and he's very easy to play, which I think does help his case. And if you already have a 5-star bow or if you have cons on him, that will make him even better. So I think mostly the people who should get Venti are people that just like love Venti and want to play DPS Venti. So I can't in good conscience recommend getting him for Varka when we don't know what Varka does. It could be that Varka does want DPS Venti. He wants to use, this is a theory I was talking about earlier today on stream. Maybe Varka wants 3 Hex and Circle characters. Maybe that's how, it's like Varka's version of the Skirk restriction, is he can only use Hex and Circle characters on the team. And then you have to run Venti, Durin, and like Fischl or something. I don't know. You don't have a healer. Maybe he heals himself. I don't know. Maybe we had another animal healer. I could kind of see that happening. And then you wouldn't want Farzan. You wouldn't want Bennett. You would want Durin and Venti. But it seems weird to have both Durin and Venti be on banner months before Varka's release and before we even know what Varka does. And then to have them be best in slot for Varka does feel also unlikely, but it also feels unlikely that neither of them will be best in slot for Varka if he is indeed a Hexerite character. I know a lot of people are excited for Varka, so that's why I'm talking about it, but wishing for future impact is rough, so I don't recommend it. I really still kind of think the only people that should get Venti are people that want to play DPS Venti. Because you love Venti, you're simp maxing. It's not a good meta idea. Okay, the 4-stars. These 4-stars are amazing for DPS Venti. Venti wants Bennett, he wants Farzan C6, he wants Bennett, and he wants Durin. So through wishing on these banners, you will make Venti's best in slot team. And if you have a low invested account and you get both Venti and Durin, I could see Venti performing very well on your account, because, you know, if you don't have a lot of high constellation 4-stars and you pull on these 2 banners and get C6 of both of them, or at least C5 Bennett and C6 Farzan. His C6 just doesn't help Venti because it's a pyro damage bonus. You know, I could see a lot of people quite enjoying that. Bennett obviously still one of the absolute top tier goated supports. I think if you don't have any copies of Bennett, I would actually recommend wishing for a C1 Bennett on the Durin banner. I think Durin's useful enough that if you get an early Durin, that's fine. Obviously, you know, don't go all the way to pity going for a C1 Bennett if you get unlucky. You can always get a copy of Bennett from the shop. You know, you can just go for 1 Bennett. And then Yehoda, I just made a video ragging on Yehoda. At least she does, like, the copium that we have right now is that maybe she works with Columbina. If Columbina can create lunar reactions, maybe combined with Columbina, you can create lunar reactions and sort of just have a lunar wheelchair comp, including a healer for a lot of other characters. So there's some copium that Yehoda could be useful. If you have Inefa, I think Yehoda is pretty useful, just not that many people have Inefa. I'm excited together. I hope I get lucky and get lots of cons because I really like her. And then Farzan, you know, best in slot for Shao, Wanderer, and Venti. Will she be best in slot for Varka? It's another point towards maybe he'll restrict you to Hexerite characters. I don't know. Hopefully not, but it's something I could see. Since I probably won't be making a Bennett guide or anything, this is my general monthly PSA to do not put Favonius Sword on Bennett. Craft the Sapwood Blade, please and thank you. I really like Skyward Blade on Bennett if you need lots of energy, if you happen to have the Skyward Blade. Otherwise, Aquila Favonia, Mist Splitter, you know, etc. Weapons that have the highest base attack are the best on Bennett, and then the other 2 are Fav, Bow, bots. Yeah, so those are the 4-stars. Generally pretty good 4-stars overall. I mean, Bennett just sort of makes the banner good by default, to be honest. And then if you're a new player, and then if you're an old player, you don't have Yehoda. So, you know, that's always fun as a new player getting a new 4-star, even if they're just Imaginarium Theater fodder, that's fine. For the weapon banner, a lot of people might be wondering, should I get cons or should I get weapons? I think both Durin and Venti often will prefer cons. Durin's weapon is good, but his C1 is a very similar increase and a bit more universal. His weapon requires another Hexerite character to be in the team, and it doesn't benefit his DPS playstyle quite as much. It is his best in slot, obviously, even for DPS, but his C1 is just sort of better. And I would say that these 4-star weapons are not very good. Alley Flash is good for Bennett, of course, but not as good as a 5-star weapon. The other weapons are kind of copium. I mean, Stringless is pretty good, but the other ones are kind of copium. So I would say that getting, you know, copies of these 4-stars is going to be generally more valuable than here. And Durin, again, would prefer his C1 to his weapon. Venti, his weapon and his C1 are very similar. If you have a different 5-star bow, however, then he starts to prefer his C1. His weapon is beautiful though, and it is an upgrade over other 5-star weapons. So, you know, if you are simp maxing, Venti maxing, I'm going to get his weapon just I get the DP. I'm not going to get Durin's weapon unless I accidentally lose to it, but I'm going to get Venti's weapon because I get all the DPS weapons, but I don't get the support weapons because I think it's generally more impactful to get DPS weapons. And if you play a DPS, oftentimes people do get their weapon. So, and also you can take it off and try free to play, unlike a Constellation where you can't. But if you're actually wishing for your own account, I think generally speaking, both of their C1s are better than the weapon. And and some people ask, should I get this weapon for this other character? Should I get this weapon for this other character? The answer is no. You should never get someone else's signature weapon for your character. I know you might be really wanting an upgrade for whatever unit, but just wait for their own signature weapon. Even if it's on a bad banner, it's worth getting the real signature over, a second grade option for pretty much every DPS in the game, except for maybe some of the old ones. But if they're even a somewhat modern DPS, they really benefit a lot from their own signature weapon. So yeah, don't get these for anyone else. Generally go for the C1s. And enjoy this banner. Some people are saying Durin's going to be bait before Columbina. I think it just really matters what characters you have, what characters you're saving for. Obviously, Columbina is coming next. We will know more about Columbina any hour, day now. And I'll have lots of updates on Columbina on the channel. So if you want to see that, please subscribe. Check out our podcast if you want to see more content. And if you don't want to do any of that, totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.